The screams in the jungle. The jungle was quiet. Too quiet. Human explorer Drake Ryland stood still, sweat dripping from his forehead. Thick vines hung around him like snakes, and every step he took made the soft ground squish beneath his boots. He was on a solo mission to map the unexplored areas of planet Ravax 3, a wild green world filled with strange plants, glowing insects, and the unknown. He was used to silence. But today, something was different. Then it came. A scream. High-pitched, terrified, not human. Drake froze. He turned his head quickly, eyes wide. The scream echoed again, closer now. It wasn't an animal. It was someone in pain. He dropped his pack and pulled out his pulse pistol. Not part of the mission, he muttered to himself. But I'm not walking away from that. He moved fast, careful not to make too much noise. The sound of drums started in the distance, low, deep, and steady. Boom, boom, boom. Drake crouched low and pushed through a wall of vines. What he saw made his blood run cold. A small clearing opened in front of him. In the center, a group of tribal aliens danced, in a circle painted in black and red symbols. Their bodies were thin, their faces hidden behind wooden masks. They chanted in a language Drake couldn't understand. In the middle of the circle, a young alien girl was tied above a pit of fire. Her arms stretched over a wooden pole, her skin burned in places. She was crying softly, too weak to scream. Now Drake's hands tightened around his weapon. The girl looked no older than 20 in human years. Her skin was pale violet, and her long silver hair was dirty and tangled. Her eyes met his for a second, filled with fear, pain, and something else. Hope. Drake stepped back into the shadows. He scanned the camp. About 12 tribal warriors, spears, fire pits, and makeshift tents. The girl was clearly the center of the ritual. She's not just being punished, he whispered. They're planning to burn her alive. Drake knew he had two choices. Turn around, report what he saw, or break every rule and do what was right. He looked at the girl again. Her eyes were still searching the trees, searching for him. He made his choice. Drake reached into his belt and pulled out a smoke grenade. He set the timer for 5 seconds and tossed it into the middle of the ritual. It exploded with a loud crack, smoke rushing in all directions. The tribal aliens screamed in confusion. Some fell, others grabbed weapons and waved them wildly through the smoke. Drake ran, straight into the fire circle. He grabbed the girl. Her skin was hot, her body light. She didn't resist. She simply collapsed into his arms. "I've got you," he said, holding her close. With one hand carrying her and the other holding his pistol, he ran back through the jungle path he came from. Shouts followed behind him. Spears flew past. Drums banged harder. They were being chased. Drake didn't stop. Not for the pain in his legs. Not for the burning in his chest. He finally reached a small rock cave hidden by giant trees. He slipped inside and quickly activated a portable shield wall. It created a soft energy barrier, blocking heat and sound from leaving the cave. Safe. For now. He gently laid the alien girl on a padded mat and opened his med kit. Her skin had burn marks, her breathing was shallow. She looked at him, weak but awake. "You... human?" she whispered. "Yes," he replied. "My name's Drake. You're safe." She blinked slowly. They were going to burn me. I saw. "Why, did you save me?" she asked. Drake paused. "I don't know. Maybe because no one else did." Her lips trembled. She whispered, "My name is Asha." Drake smiled. "Nice to meet you, Asha. Let's make sure that name doesn't become a memory." She closed her eyes. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Not from pain, but relief. Drake checked the med scanner. She had lost a lot of energy. Her species ran on heat and light. Burning her had brought her closer to death. And those tribes? They weren't done hunting. Drake looked at the jungle through the scanner. Red dots were moving closer again. He stood up, gun ready. If they come, they'll learn what happens when humans stop running. The fire pit. The jungle behind the cave was no longer silent. It whispered, it breathed, and it hunted. Drake crouched near the entrance of the rocky shelter, watching red heat signatures move across his scanner. The tribal aliens were searching. For them, closing in fast. He gripped his weapon tighter. Inside the cave, Asha lay curled on the thermal mat. Her eyes were half open, her body still weak from the burns, but her breathing was stronger now. Her skin glowed faintly under the medic light, pale violet, bruised but still beautiful in a haunting way. She whispered, "Are they still coming?" Drake didn't turn. "Yes," she swallowed hard. "They always do." Drake glanced at her. "Has this happened before?" She nodded slowly. "To others, girls like me. Our kind is considered cursed if we're born during the red moons. The tribe believes fire purifies us. No one questions it. They just burn us." Drake's jaw tightened. "That's not culture. That's cruelty." Asha looked at him. "Then why did you save me? You don't even know me." He turned toward her, voice low and steady. "I don't need to know you didn't deserve to die screaming." Suddenly, the shield at the cave entrance flickered. A pulse. The hunters were near. Drake stood and powered up his rifle. "Stay here. If anything happens, follow the emergency path to the back tunnel. Don't stop. Don't look back." Asha tried to sit up. "You'll be killed." Drake smirked. "I'm human. We're very bad at dying when we're supposed to." He stepped outside, blending into the shadows. The jungle was dense here, but he knew how to move. Drake crept silently through the vines and found the tribal group spreading out. They sniffed the air, their faces hidden behind wooden masks shaped like beasts. Their spears glowed faintly with poison tips. One of them growled, "The cursed one is near. The flames must finish what we started." Drake raised his weapon. Click. Soft stun bolt flew out and struck the lead hunter in the back. The alien dropped to the ground, gasping. The others spun around, but Drake was already gone. He fired from another angle, then another. Using the trees and shadows like armor, the jungle itself seemed to fight back, helping the human who had chosen to break the ritual. Inside the cave, Asha heard the fighting, and for the first time in her life, she didn't feel fear. She felt protected. She sat up slowly, wincing as the burns pulled at her skin. She looked down at her wrists, still marked from the ropes. Her mind replayed the fire, the chanting, the pain, and then the moment he appeared. A human stepping into the flames, not for conquest, but to pull her out. Asha had never been chosen before, not for anything good. But now, she didn't want to be weak anymore. Outside, the last of the tribal hunters tried to escape, but Drake tackled him to the ground. The two wrestled in the mud. The alien screamed and slashed Drake's arm with a hidden blade. Drake winced, then headbutted the masked figure. The alien dropped. Breathing hard, Drake stood, bleeding but alive. He whispered, "That's for Asha." Back at the cave, Asha was waiting. When Drake stumbled in, she rushed to him, catching him before he fell. "Your arm?" she cried. "I've had worse," he said, grinning weakly. She helped him lie down. For a long moment, they didn't speak. Just the sounds of breathing, fire, and the far-off jungle wind. Then Asha said, "No one has ever fought for me before." Drake looked at her. "You're worth fighting for." She touched his hand. "If I live, I want to fight for someone else, like you did." Drake smiled. "Then let's make sure you do." Above the cave, a red moon rose, and for the first time, Asha watched it without fear. She was still scarred, still healing. But she wasn't burning. She was becoming something new. Hunted in the dark, the night on planet Ravax 3 was like a black ocean, deep, wide, and always moving. Inside the cave, Drake Rylan barely slept. He sat near the entrance, arm wrapped in bandages, pulse pistol beside him. His body was tired, but his mind was sharp. He could feel it. They weren't safe yet. Beside him, Asha slept under a thermal blanket. Her glow had returned, soft and steady, like a fire no longer dying. Her breathing was calm, her body healing, but her past still clung to her like shadows. A sudden howl echoed in the distance. Drake grabbed his scanner. 3 life forms. Moving fast. They were coming again. He quietly turned and looked at Asha. She stirred, sensing the danger. Her silver eyes opened slowly. They never stop. Drake nodded. They don't forgive. She sat up, brushing her tangled hair back. The tribes don't just punish girls like me. They believe we bring death, disease, fire, even rain. Drake frowned. That's not belief. That's fear. Asha looked away. When I was 10, they took my sister. She was born during the eclipse, like me. She didn't scream when they tied her above the fire. She just closed her eyes. Drake said nothing. Asha's voice cracked. I ran. I watched from the trees. I thought I was next. I hid for years, until they found me last week. Drake gently placed his hand over hers. I'm sorry. Asha looked up at him. But now you're here, she said. And for the first time, I don't feel like a curse. Suddenly, a branch snapped outside the cave. Drake stood quickly, lifting his weapon. They're close. He activated the secondary shield, a weaker energy barrier but enough to slow a small attack. We need to move before dawn, he said. Once they see the sunrise, their rage grows. The fire day. Asha stood, still weak, but steadier. There's a place, I know it, an old ruin from before the tribes, Drake nodded. Show me. They left before first light, moving through the thick undergrowth. The forest was alive with strange sounds, whispers of wind, chirps of glowing bugs, soft rustling leaves that never stopped moving. Asha led the way, barefoot, careful, silent. Drake followed closely, eyes scanning everything. He admired her now, not just her beauty but her strength. She had every reason to break, to give up, but she didn't. After hours of travel, they reached it. The ruin. Old stone walls covered in moss. Alien carvings glowed faintly with ancient energy. There were no doors, just arches leading into hollow chambers. Asha stopped. This is where the old ones lived, the ones before the fire cult. They believed in stars, in peace, in truth. Drake stepped inside. And now, we hide in their bones. Asha touched the carvings on the wall. Her glow synced with the ancient lights. The ruins responded. The chamber lit up with a soft hum. Drake raised his brow. It reacts to you. Asha looked down. Maybe because I'm not a mistake. Maybe because I was never cursed. Drake smiled. You never were. Outside, the red sun began to rise, and with it, the hunters arrived. Drums, footsteps, shouts. The ruins shook as the tribal warriors surrounded them. Drake powered up his rifle. Asha stood beside him, holding a long piece of sharpened metal, an ancient blade she found in the stone. I'm not hiding this time, she said. Drake nodded. Then let's make our stand. The first warrior charged. Drake fired. The blast hit the ground beside him, sending dirt and sparks flying. Asha moved like wind, ducking low and slashing with the blade. Blood spilled. The warrior screamed. Another came, and another. But this time Asha wasn't a helpless girl. She was burning, but by choice. They fought back to back, human and alien, flame and steel, together. Finally, silence returned. Smoke hung in the air. The attackers, defeated or gone. Drake fell to his knees, breathing hard. Asha stood tall, blood on her arms, fire in her eyes. They called me a curse, she whispered. But today, I was the fire they feared. Drake looked up at her, smiling despite the pain. You were never the fire that destroys, you're the fire that survives. and for the first time in her life, Asha believed it. The old crashed ship. The ruins were quiet now. Broken spears lay on the ground. The tribal warriors had vanished into the jungle, leaving behind only silence and smoke. Drake sat on a stone step, wrapping a cloth around his bleeding arm. His body ached, but his eyes never left Asha. She stood with the rising sun behind her, covered in dirt and ash, her blade still warm from the fight. She looked strong, no longer the girl tied above a fire pit, no longer a victim. "I used to dream of dying," Asha said softly, because that seemed easier than waiting to burn. Drake looked up. "And now?" She turned to him, her voice steady. "Now I want to live." They rested only for an hour before continuing deeper into the ruins. Asha led the way, touching the glowing carvings on the walls. As she moved, ancient lights flickered to life. "These were not tribal buildings," she said. "They were made by travelers, long ago." Drake followed closely. "Human travelers?" "I don't know, but they knew your kind." At the center of the ruins they found it, a ship, half buried under earth and vines, cracked in places but still intact. It was shaped like a giant crescent, its hull scratched with time and history. Drake's heart stopped. He recognized the design. "This is Terran, old gen, maybe 200 years old," he muttered. He touched the surface. The material responded. Lights flickered, systems clicked on. The ship welcomed him. They climbed inside. The halls were dusty and dark, but alive. Old emergency lights buzzed on. The air smelled metallic and stale. In the central control room, a message repeated on loop. "Mission failed. Hostiles too advanced. Crew evacuated. Archive preserved." Asha looked around. "Archive?" Drake tapped the console. A hologram appeared. Images of human scientists and alien children working side by side. A voice played. "Project Unity, bonding human emotion with alien energy. Goal, peace, harmony, survival." Drake's eyes widened. This wasn't just a science team. They were building something. Asha stared at the images. One of the girls looked like her. "That's my race, but younger, before the tribes." In a side chamber they found more. Old med kits, energy cells, a functioning food generator, and in the deepest part of the ship, a room filled with glowing tubes. Inside each one, a small light flickered. Asha stepped closer. "What are these?" Drake read the console. "Bioseeds. They're living DNA archives. Your people," Asha whispered. "They tried to save us. But the tribes must have destroyed the outpost when the humans left," Drake finished. Asha turned to him. "I wasn't cursed. I was created to carry a future they feared." Drake nodded. "You were never meant to burn. You were meant to light the way." Outside, storm clouds began to gather. The jungle sensed something had awakened. And far away, drums started again. The tribal hunters were regrouping. Bigger, angrier. Drake powered up the ship's defense screen. "We can hold them off from here," he said. Asha picked up a plasma blade from a supply rack. "This time, they don't face a scared girl," she said. Drake looked at her, a proud smile on his bruised face. "No, this time they face us." As the first lightning flashed across the sky, the two stood inside the ancient human ship, the past and future united. She was born to be erased. Now she was becoming legend. The trial of blades. The sky cracked open with thunder. Lightning flashed across the jungle, casting shadows over the ancient ship buried in the ruins. Inside, Asha stood tall, wrapped in bandages, holding a glowing plasma blade. Her body still, carried burns, but her posture was unshaken. Her eyes didn't show fear now, only fire. Drake stood beside her, checking the ship's defense system. The power was low, but enough to activate one round of energy shields. "This storm will cover us for an hour," he said. "After that, it's just us and whatever they bring." Asha nodded. "Let them come." From the trees, the jungle roared with tribal drums. Shouts echoed, low and deep, voices filled with hate and rage. The cult was returning in full force. More than warriors now, elders, hunters, priests, all painted in blood-red clay, faces hidden behind sharper masks. One of them held up Asha's burned tribal cloth and shouted in their harsh tongue, "She has defied the fire. She has stolen power from the old gods. Tonight the cursed flame shall be returned to ashes." Drake peered from the ship's doorway. They brought an army. Asha looked past the trees. Her voice was calm. "They think I'm still weak. Still running." She stepped forward. "I'm not." She walked out of the ship into the storm. Lightning flashed behind her, wind throwing her silver hair across her face. The tribal warrior stepped back in shock. She raised the plasma blade. "My name is Asha," she shouted. "You called me, cursed. You left me to burn, but I survived." The priest shouted back, "You are a stain on the tribe. I am the future you tried to bury." Drake moved to her side, weapon ready. Asha looked at him. "You saved me from fire. Now I return the favor." The battle began. The first wave of masked warriors charged. Asha didn't flinch. She moved like wind, like light, like a story that had waited too long to be told. Her blade cut clean through spears. Her body danced between blows. She had once been tied to a post. Now she was untouchable. Drake fired from behind cover, backing her up, dropping attackers one by one. The rain poured harder, turning dirt to mud. The tribe fought with rage, but Asha fought with purpose, for her sister, for herself, for every girl they'd tried to silence. An elder with twin blades stepped forward. "You dare speak above the fire?" Asha turned toward him, burned scars, glowing on her arm. "I am the fire." They clashed. Sparks flew as blade met blade. The elder roared. Asha dropped low, swept his legs, and with one clean strike ended it. The others hesitated. Their fire goddess was standing before them, alive, fighting, glowing, and she was winning. More warriors fell back. Some dropped their weapons. The priest screamed, "No, finish her!" But no one moved. Even rage has limits, and the flame that burns with love and purpose is stronger than one that burns out of fear. Drake moved beside Asha as the storm began to quiet. Bodies lay across the muddy ground. The tribe had been broken, not by death, but by truth. Asha stood still, breathing hard. Then slowly, she dropped the blade. She looked to the jungle. No more drums, no more fear, only quiet. Drake placed his hand on her shoulder. "It's over." She turned to him. "No, it's just beginning." In the days that followed, Asha didn't run. She walked openly through the jungle, visiting villages once ruled by silence and fear. Girls who had hidden all. Their lives came out to meet her. They touched her scars. They listened to her words. And they picked up blades of their own. The girl who had once been grilled alive was now called something new. Asheran, daughter of flame, the one who turned her fire into light. The decision to stay, the jungle was quiet. Now. For the first time since his crash on Ravax 3, Drake Rylan wasn't running. He sat near a glowing pond, repairing the broken beacon on his ship. It was finally fixed. One signal, and a pickup crew from orbit would come within the day. Home was just a call away, but he didn't press the button. Not yet. Behind him, the voices of alien girls echoed through the trees, laughing, training, talking. Asha was with them, standing, tall, helping others hold weapons and speak freely. She had become something more, not just a survivor, but a leader. Drake looked at the beacon again. The blinking light waited. So did Earth. So did everything he had once known. Asha walked up behind, him quietly, barefoot in the grass. "You fixed it," she said. He nodded. She sat beside him. "Are you going back?" she asked, her voice calm. Drake stared at the trees. "I should. My people probably think I'm dead." Asha said nothing. The silence wasn't awkward. It was full of meaning. "I miss the stars," he said. "The noise of cities, the soft beds. And I miss feeling like I belonged," Asha replied. She smiled gently. "Now I do." Drake looked at her. "You've changed. So have you." He chuckled. "You were tied to a fire pit. Now you're leading a movement." Asha looked toward the group of girls watching them from the distance. "They're not afraid anymore. Not because of me, but because someone showed them they're worth saving." She looked into his eyes. "You did that." The beacon beeped. Again, Drake sighed. "I came to this planet alone. I thought I'd do my job, then leave. No one was supposed to matter." He paused. "But then you screamed." Asha didn't look away. "You could still leave," she said softly. "I could. But if you stay," she added, "you won't just be the man who saved me. You'll be the man who helped build something no one else dared to imagine." Drake stood up, walked to the ship, stared at the beacon. Then he took a deep breath and turned it off. He walked back to Asha. "No rescue," he said. She tilted her head. "Why?" He smiled. "Because I've already been found." That night, the stars burned brighter than ever. No fires, no fear, no chains. Just a girl who had once been broken, and a man who stayed behind to build something whole. Together. In the jungle, under the moonlight, two voices whispered not of war or screams, but of beginning. The fire that saved her, the red moon, rose again over the jungle. It used to mark sacrifice. Now it marked something new. From the high stone cliff, Asha looked down at the gathering below. Alien girls, young, old, scarred, silent, stood in a wide circle. Some wore old tribal cloth, others wore new armor made from vines and salvaged gear. But all of them held one thing in common: they were free. Beside Asha stood Drake, arms crossed, watching the flames from the ceremonial fire. He had spent the last week helping rebuild the ruins, turn caves into shelters, shipwrecks into schools, and old pain into new hope. Asha spoke loudly, her voice clear. "No one will ever tie us to fire again." The girls nodded, some with tears in their eyes. She continued, "We were told we were cursed, that we had no value unless we burned. But look around. This fire is ours now. It warms us. It doesn't eat us." An elder tribal woman stepped forward, face painted but eyes full of regret. She bowed. "I was once the one who gave the orders. I believed the old stories. But you proved them false." Asha nodded. "No one is born evil, but we must choose different now." Later that night, under the stars, Asha and Drake sat near the edge of the cliff. The air was warm. The forest below was quiet. Drake turned to her. "They listened to you." Asha smiled softly. "Because I believed it first." Drake laughed. "You've gone from almost grilled to queen." Asha leaned on his shoulder. "Not a queen, just a girl who stopped waiting to be rescued." She looked up at him. "You taught me that." Suddenly a young alien girl ran up, no older than 12. She carried a carved flame symbol and handed it to Asha. "We made this for you," she said shyly. "You're the fire that saved us." Asha's eyes filled with quiet tears. She took the carving gently, then crouched to the girl's level. "No," she whispered. "You are." The next morning, a signal tower blinked in the distance. Ships responded. Not warships, but peaceful traders. Off-worlders who had ignored Ravax 3 until now. The world had changed, and the name Asharan, once whispered in fear, was now sung in strength. Drake stood watching the horizon. Asha walked up beside him. "What now?" she asked. Drake smiled. "Now, we build the future." She reached for his hand. Together they walked forward, into a jungle that once tried to kill her, but now knelt at her feet, not because she fought with hate, but because she fought with fire born of love. The end.